You are the first of the presidential candidates to note the issues of DEI, ESG, and this horrible situation in Hawaii, the absolute madness of some of the public officials.
So look, I think we see this in one disaster after another, each of which are symptoms of a deeper problem. In the Maui case, let's talk about what actually led to those disastrous deaths. This is a hard truth because this is a sensitive situation. My heart goes out to the people who are suffering in Maui. Helping them, I think, is one of our most important objectives. I think it's frankly shameful that we have a U.S. president that has not physically been present there, let alone providing the level of aid that I think is required to help residents there, which is now the most important issue. But if we don't learn from our mistakes, we're destined to make them again. There was an Obama appointee, climate change activist, who also believes, as part of this broader Gaia-centric worldview of the earth, that water rights need to be protected, which led to a 5 to 6 hour delay in the critical window of getting waters to put out those fires. And we will never know, although certain signs point to the fact that we very well could have avoided those catastrophic deaths, many of them, if water had made it to the site of the fires on time. And I bring this up because we are destined to repeat our mistakes again unless we learn from the ones we have already made. Take the disaster in public education. Now we have black kids who don't score as well as white kids or Asian kids in school. And we're coming up with the truism that math is racist, when in fact, what really might have been inequitable, racist, pick your favorite word, is the fact that in the midst of the COVID pandemic, not fires this time, but a different catastrophe, we again made disastrous decisions to systematically close public schools, especially in poor regions, while private schools and others were able to remain open. And so I think what we often see is the rise of wokeness, whether it is in our public schools, whether it's in the military, whether it's in foreign aid, whether it's in domestic aid. It really is a deflection. It's kind of what I call a woke smoke, to deflect accountability for actual underlying failures in those institutions. And I think that we as conservatives, and I'm not criticizing anybody else here but myself, to be honest with you, I have written books. I wrote Woke Inc. back when most people in our movement had never heard that word. I think there was a time and place for focusing on the problem. But I think it's also important right now, though, that we don't get too fixated on any one of the poisons, wokeness or anything else. We've done that. For a long time, we have been running from something. I think, though, now is actually our moment as conservatives to start running to something, to our vision of what it actually means to be an American. That's how we're actually going to win. Not even taking this one official and hammering him into the ground and blaming him and holding him out at the stake. He's just a symptom of a deeper void of purpose and meaning in our country. And when you don't have real faith or real patriotism or real family or real hard work, you're going to resort to climate activism and water rights instead. And I think the work that we have to do, it's why I'm in this race, frankly, Eric, is I think that we have to fill that vacuum with our vision of what it means to be a citizen of this nation, do it without apology. And that is how we will dilute these woke agendas to irrelevance. And this is our moment to look ourselves in the mirror and ask ourselves, do we have it in us to go beyond just criticizing those endless hypocrisies on the other side, as I and others have done, and now level up and say that we're actually offering an affirmative vision of our own. And I think that's our task in the next year and a half.
This is the perfect setup for the question I've asked everybody who's come. You've got a former president, a former vice president, sitting governors and senators and others. Why should people vote for you for president of the United States?
So look, I think the first thing I will say to preface that question with is, it is my job in this race to tell everybody who I am and what I stand for. And if everybody in this country knows that by the end of this race and they decide to go with somebody else, I am very much at peace with that decision. That is the system working as it should. I'm skeptical that's how our system works. We have a lot of influences that create layers of distortion, but it is my job to make sure that I've done my best to make sure everybody knows. Now, in that spirit, I'll tell you who I am and what I stand for. My parents came to this country with no money 40 years ago. I've gone on to found multi-billion-dollar companies. I did it while marrying my wife, Apurva, raising our 2 sons, following our faith in God. That's the American dream. And I am genuinely worried that that American dream will not exist for my 2 sons and their generation unless we, not just me, all of us, step up to actually do something about it. I think that we have an interesting debate in the GOP right now, and I think it's a good debate. There are other fellow patriots who will be on that debate stage. I'm not taking swings at them. I will defend myself if necessary, but I'm not in this race to view them as my competitors. I view them as my colleagues. I view you all as my colleagues in this national revival. But I do think we face a choice, to address your question. I think the choice we actually face in this primary is, do you want incremental reform? If that's what you want, you'd be better served going with somebody else who came from within the system. Do you want incremental reform? Or do you want revolution? I stand on the side of the American Revolution. I stand on the side of reviving those 1776 ideals that set this nation into motion. And I deeply care about national unity, but there are 2 very different theories of national unity. One is that we show up in the middle. We reach compromise, hold hands with our friends on the other side, bridge over our differences by compromising, meet in the middle, sing Kumbaya and move on. I don't believe in that model of national unity. I think the way we get to national unity is by actually embracing the radicalism, the extremism of the American founding ideals themselves. Free speech, open debate, self-governance, the idea that we the people create a government that is accountable to us, not the other way around. Self-governance over aristocracy, the rule of law, the unbridled pursuit of excellence and meritocracy, that you get ahead in this country, not on the color of your skin, but on the content of your character and your contributions without anybody stopping you on the way. These are radical ideals. These are extreme ideals. For most of human history, it has been done the other way. And so, no, I don't think that moderation is our answer. I think embracing the radical ideals that unite us across Americans is actually the true answer.